Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the Bloomberg Daybreak Europe podcast. Good morning. It's Wednesday, the 7th of January. I'm Caroline Hepker in London.
And I'm Stephen Carroll in Brussels. Coming up today, the White House says Donald Trump isn't ruling out using military force to acquire Greenland.
The US president claims Venezuela will send America up to 50 million barrels of oil.
Plus, trying to prevent last orders, British pubs push for tax discounts as the sector warns many risk going out of business.
Let's start with a roundup of our top stories.
The White House says President Trump will not rule out the use of military force to acquire Greenland. In a statement, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said a number of possibilities are being discussed and that, quote, utilising the US military is always an option at the Commander-in-Chief's disposal. The comments are sure to escalate tensions with Denmark and other European countries. European leaders issued their own statement yesterday warning that Trump needs to respect the territorial integrity of Greenland and work collectively on Arctic security. Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, says there's no basis for a takeover.
We are a country that is democratic and has been democratic for many, many years. And if we look at the whole picture, I can understand that some people are concerned. The situation is not that the United States can simply conquer Greenland.
Jens Frederik Nielsen speaking there via translator as the Wall Street Journal reported that US Secretary of State Marco Rubio downplayed military action in a briefing with American lawmakers, instead signalling that the goal was to buy the island from Denmark.
Venezuela will send as much as 50 million barrels of oil to the United States, according to President Trump. At current market prices, that would be worth roughly $2.8 billion. Writing on social media, Trump said he would control the proceeds from the sale of the crude oil to ensure it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the US. The announcement comes as the White House seeks to extend its economic influence in Venezuela following the capture of leader Nicolas Maduro. US House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke to reporters following a meeting with President Trump.
This is not a regime change. This is a demand for change of behavior by a regime. The interim government is stood up now, and we are hopeful that they will be able to correct their action. They cannot participate with narco-terrorists.
US House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking there as ABC reports that the US has told Venezuela's interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez, to exclusively partner with them on oil production and favour America when selling heavy crude.
France and the UK have pledged to send troops to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal with Russia. The commitment to a so-called reassurance force came at a meeting in Paris yesterday of the Coalition of the Willing, which included US officials as well as European, Canadian and other leaders. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the agreement marks a crucial breakthrough.
This is a vital part of our ironcast commitment to stand with Ukraine for the long term. It paves the way for the legal framework under which British, French and partner forces could operate on Ukrainian soil.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer speaking in Paris after talks which saw the Trump administration move towards an agreement on security guarantees. US envoy Steve Witkoff said leaders had largely finished security protocols during the gathering and vowed US-backed initiatives would defend Ukraine from future attacks. According to European officials, it's now up to Russia to decide when it's ready to negotiate.
Tensions between China and Japan continue to escalate over the issue of Taiwan. On Tuesday, China's Ministry of Commerce said that all items with military as well as commercial uses were banned from being sent to Japan if they could enhance the country's military capabilities. Officials in Tokyo have now issued a formal protest against China's trading curbs, which threaten more than 40% of Chinese exports to Japan, estimated to be worth over $68 billion. The dispute originally springs from remarks by Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi about Taiwan in early November 2025.
Hundreds of flights have been cancelled in Europe as heavy snowfall disrupts travel and power networks. Airports in Paris and Amsterdam are running reduced services today so staff can clear snow from runways. Demand for power has also soared as temperatures fell as low as minus 22 degrees Celsius in parts of France. Its most severe cold snap since 2012. At least 5 people are reported to have died in weather-related incidents in the country. The cold weather is forecast to continue across much of Western Europe this week.
UK pubs are pushing for last-minute tax discounts as they warn of an existential threat to their industry. Bloomberg has learned that the UK Treasury held talks with the British Beer and Pub Association after landlords started banning Labour MPs from their businesses. Bloomberg's James Wilcock has more.
Pints are political in Britain. Labour MPs like Tom Hayes have been dismayed to find out they have recently been banned from many local pubs.
My job has just got a million times harder because I can't go and bang the drum for businesses with the Chancellor if I can't speak with business owners because they're banning me from doing so.
The venues are running a grassroots campaign as they face the end of pandemic-era subsidies and higher tax bills. Lobby group UK Hospitality says the typical pub will see an increase in business rates of 76% over the next 2 years. The government says a transition payment will help support companies, but the ongoing fight over higher taxes is yet another political hangover for the government. In London, James Wilcock, Bloomberg Radio.
And those are our top stories this morning. Now, the record-breaking global stock rally is losing momentum today in Asia. The MSCI All-Country World Index was at a record yesterday, record high, but it's down 0.1% this morning. The European Stock 600 also hit a fresh record high yesterday. Memory chip stocks in the US surged after comments from Nvidia, SanDisk, Western Digital, Seagate. Oil is down today. Brent crude below $60 a barrel, currently down 0.9%. Gold and silver sliding, Treasury yields at 4.16. Goldman Sachs seeing a 20% jump for the MSCI China index by the end of this year. So an interesting longer perspective on markets too.
In a moment, we'll bring you the latest on the US comments on Greenland, plus the prospect of Venezuela sending oil worth billions of dollars to America. But it is that time of year where you have to take out your crazy inventions bingo card because it's the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Do you remember the hype of the folding laundry robot last year? My clothes are still creased, Caroline, but fear not. A Hoover is coming that can hoover your stairs. This is a new version of robot vacuum cleaners from the Chinese company Roborock, unveiling a model that has legs that can work around steps and uneven surfaces, can clear downward slopes as well in the demonstrations that were done yesterday. Now, it sounds great, but our reporter in Las Vegas, Dana Ullman, also reminds us that last year the same company showed off a different kind of robot vacuum. They had a mechanical arm to pick up stray socks. The reality, though, didn't turn out to be so great. It cost, first of all, nearly $2,600 to buy, and secondly, wasn't great at distinguishing things that weren't socks while moving around the house either.
Right,
so it presented some other practical difficulties. Now, look, that's not to say that this couldn't be a very helpful development for some people. I did watch a video of this. It moves very slowly as well. You wouldn't want to be in a hurry to have your stairs cleaned.
No. Look, the gadgets could be amazing, right? I would love one of these, my very own Johnny number 5. But making that leap from kind of static white goods to ones that move is obviously immensely complex. And not just for the technology, but I think also for the adaptation of users, maybe. I just do think moving technology in your home is going to be a big leap, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I note that my laundry remains unfolded. So, I'll let you know when one of these robots actually arrive in my house. But it's a very great time, of course, to be checking in on where those developments are. Full coverage of the Consumer Electronics Show across Bloomberg. And we'll put a link to that story in our podcast show notes.
Well, let's bring you more now on President Donald Trump's plans for Greenland after the White House refused to rule out using military force to acquire the Arctic island. Our Washington, D.C. editor, John Harney, joins us now for more. John, how seriously is the Trump administration considering military action over Greenland?
That we're talking about this at all indicates that it is certainly far more serious than we would have imagined even a year ago. Now, this notion of acquiring Greenland began in the first Trump administration and then sort of faded away, but it's acquired new urgency after the spectacular United States incursion into Venezuela over the weekend, in which President Nicolas Maduro was seized and brought to the United States to face criminal charges. And the other thing is that as far as military action, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, said it couldn't be ruled out entirely. But then Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the Trump administration would try to buy Greenland. But in either case, they're certainly not letting go of this notion that the United States wants this territory.
So the Danish government wants a meeting with the US to talk about this issue. Can diplomacy help to diffuse this? We know that Donald Trump has stated the aim of wanting to acquire or buy Greenland for many years now.
That's right. I mean, diplomacy always has the potential to avoid confrontation, the threat of confrontation, and we'll see how that goes. But again, both sides seem to have taken pretty strong positions at this point. The United States saying we need Greenland for national security purposes. The Danish government saying that this is our territory, has been for a very long time. And the Europeans, the European Union, NATO countries expressing some alarm over this.
And also trying to undercut the idea that it's necessary, talking about having to work together for Arctic security, which is also the reason that Greenland's so strategically important. Does the issue, though, also risk the work when it comes to the Ukraine peace process that was also taking place yesterday?
Well, first of all, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, did not go to this summit because of the what happened in Venezuela. But the new musings, or whatever you want to call them, about Greenland overshadowed this event in which Britain, France, and Germany and other allies of Ukraine tried to forge an agreement on what would come after any ceasefire with Russia, and with the United States' involvement. But if this acrimony between the United States and Denmark becomes more serious, well, that could call into question the future of the entire NATO alliance, which has been in place since the end of the Second World War.
Okay, John, thanks very much. Our Washington DC editor, John Harney, there. Stay with us. More from Bloomberg Daybreak Europe coming up after this.
Now, crude oil prices have dropped after President Trump said that Venezuela would hand over millions of barrels of crude oil to the United States. Joining us now to discuss is Stephen Stapczynski, who leads our energy coverage in Asia. Stephen, President Trump seizing Venezuelan oil, what do we know about the action so far?
I'm not sure if I would call it seizing per se. He says it's an agreement where there will be some sort of profit sharing, but surely it's Trump capitalizing on the current situation and a government that likely wants to sort of give an olive branch to the Trump administration and figure out a way forward. Now, 50 million barrels, while that might seem like a lot, if you actually look at the production of Venezuela, they produce about 800,000 barrels per day. That's like 50 to 60 days of production. And it's unclear if that's going to be all the production coming forward. Trump said sanctioned oil. And so, for example, Chevron produces oil in Venezuela that's not sanctioned. I don't think that that's included. I think he's talking about just the stuff that the U.S. sees is going out on shadow fleet vessels. Maybe some of that oil will come from what's on floating storage, basically what's already at sea. That will be routed to the U.S. It will be sold to international markets, maybe. But there's a lot of questions. But certainly this, I think, would be a geopolitical win for both sides, right? Trump is able to say, hey, I got some oil and it's paying, it's helping to pay for this, while Venezuela can say, hey, we had a breakthrough with the Trump administration.
We did see shares in Chevron jumping yesterday, though, and this question of President Trump wanting to use the oil majors to rebuild the oil sector in Venezuela. I mean, how difficult or how feasible is that?
Yeah, I mean, so the 50 million barrels is kind of small, short-term stuff. The longer-term prize is being able to capture some of the 300 billion barrels of oil potential. That's what Venezuela says that the reserves are at, with it underground, and whether the U.S. can come in and kind of take advantage or start boosting production there. Now, there are a lot of questions, right? If you're Chevron, Exxon, or another U.S. oil major, the big question is, why would I want to go there when there's this geopolitical risk hanging over my head? Are we sure that the Trump administration and the current government in Venezuela are really going to get along? And will my long-term investment really pay off, because when you talk to analysts, to get to where Venezuelan production was at the early 2000s, 3 million barrels per day, you need to invest basically $10 billion a year over a decade. That's a lot of money. So, and also with oil prices, Brent, kind of in the high $50, low $60 range right now, it's not really a great time to be investing in new supply. So you need essentially the Trump administration to subsidize it. And Trump has basically kind of said that. It's unclear exactly how he will subsidize it. There's other media reporting that he'll be meeting with executives from Chevron, Exxon, and others later this week. But I think that is going to really come down to if the U.S. is going to basically pay these companies to go into Venezuela, will that be enough to get them at the table to really put rigs in the ground and send more crew there?
This is Bloomberg Daybreak Europe, your morning brief on the stories making news from London to Wall Street and beyond.
Look for us on your podcast feed every morning on Apple, Spotify and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
You can also listen live each morning on London DAB Radio, the Bloomberg Business app and Bloomberg.com.
Our flagship New York station is also available on your Amazon Alexa devices. Just say, Alexa, play Bloomberg 1130. I'm Caroline Hepker.
And I'm Stephen Carroll. Join us again tomorrow morning for all the news you need to start your day, right here on Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.